I've said before that I've gotten some interesting games in the last few years by subscribing to the video games monthly service. I get games that I otherwise wouldn't waste 2 seconds looking at. This week's game, Thunder Alley, is one of those games. It's a racing game on the Game Boy Advance, and one that is shockingly in 3D. We'll come to find out this is not a good thing. Right from the start, the game screams budget title. There's no music when you are shown the title of the game, just engines roaring by. When you get to the main menu, one of the game's tracks are played at random, and right here is when I knew I was not gonna be in for a fun time. The music of this game is abysmal. One of the tracks sounds like a low-tiered NES song from the late 80s, and others sound like possibly early SNES fare, and not good SNES music. You won't hear anything here to put on your phone for long road trips, that I can promise you. It's a shame, because music is usually a huge thing for me in racing games, as you want it to pump up the adrenaline to keep you going for first place. But music is only one small part of the equation, as if the game has solid driving mechanics, I can oversee this by playing my own stuff. For this gameplay, you have 2 options, practice and tournament. It goes without saying that practice allows you to race on a single track, and tournament has you tackle all 4 tracks in a row. That's right, 4 tracks. Folks, this is not a huge game. Once you choose your method of racing, you get to select from one of 8 possible characters. To my knowledge, the only difference is the look of the vehicle, which isn't shown to you on this screen. So, just choose whomever you think looks like a champion, I guess. And now we jump into the game itself, and oh boy, this is bad. I have seen games attempt 3D on the GBA and do pretty well. Thunder Alley is not one of them. The graphics are just a blurry mess of pixels, with few discernible objects. I think that's a waterfall over there, and these are obviously buildings and trees, but are these supposed to be rock faces, or mountains, or something? There's hardly any detail, and what does exist is laughable. But again, if the gameplay is good, I can forgive this eye-straining disaster. But nope, driving isn't great either. Every vehicle/character I've tried feels slippery to control, with oversteer being a huge issue that I kept running into. Many times have I inadvertently slammed into a wall when trying to take a corner before an opponent. There's a few power-ups, but they don't really seem to help. There is a nitro boost to give a very, very brief increase in speed, a wheel that does something, and a wrench that I can only imagine repairs any damage your vehicle accumulates. I have noticed that if I ram into too many objects, steering does become a little bit more difficult, so if anything, it's good to know where the pit stops were. Speaking of nitro, there is a serious lack of speed in this game. I think go-karts might be faster. You know what? Hell, even lawnmowers are faster, and I don't mean the riding variety. There is a speedometer at the top left of the screen, at least I think it's supposed to be a speedometer, as it does go up to 200, but there is no way in hell that I'm even driving 60. The only time I was ever able to see any kind of real fast action was when I hit this jump in the second track, and you go flying into the air when doing so, which actually made me laugh because I truly wasn't expecting this reaction. How's the AI? Brain dead. If you can slip ahead of them, they have a hard time keeping up. They all seem to like smashing into each other as well, especially in the start of a race. Being that there are only ever 4 racers on the track at one time, including yourself, there's not a lot of action to be seen with overtaking. In fact, I'm pretty sure that there were a few times that I zoned out while playing Thunder Alley and still won the races. The only hard time I really had was the final track. There are oil slicks on the roadway, and if you strike one, your car spins wildly out of control. So much so that you may as well restart. There are no rubber banding catch-up mechanics, so once your opponents zoom on by, you're not catching up. I didn't even finish the tournament due to these cheaply placed oil slicks. But that's okay. I'm not missing anything, as I've seen 99% of the game. You might think that's crazy, but yeah. With only 4 tracks available, you can complete the tournament mode, which is essentially the entire game, in roughly 20 minutes. Considering that tournament is only supplemented by a practice mode, that's not a lot of gameplay. It's actually kind of embarrassing. I really hope that this game wasn't more than $10 on release. I pity anyone who was gifted this game by parents, as it is a very shallow experience. One last thing. For some reason, there's a view map option in the pause menu. Why is this necessary? There was a mini-map on the screen, so there was absolutely no need for this view map feature. Thunder Alley is possibly the worst racing game I've ever played. Loose controls, bad music, cheap oil slicks, power-ups that do squat, a real lack of substance. There is nothing here to like. The graphics are friggin' horrible, and I even tried it out on the small screen of my Game Boy Advance, since I thought maybe playing it on a 50-inch TV blew them out of proportion, making them worse than they actually were. But not really. It looks a little bit better on the small screen, but they're still bad. Seriously, no matter how cheap you see this game, keep away. This Thunder Alley leads to a dead end. Final score? 2 out of 7. This is Reaper. Happy fragging.